Chapter 7 of Lorna Doone. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Lorna Doone by R.D. Blackmore. Chapter 7. Hard It Is to Climb. So many a winter night went by in a hopeful and pleasant manner, with the hissing of the bright round bullets cast into the water, and the spluttering of the great red apples which Annie was roasting for me. We always managed our evening's work in the chimney of the back kitchen, where there was room to set chairs and table in spite of the fire burning. On the right-hand side was a mighty oven, where Betty threatened to bake us, and on the left long sides of bacon, made up of favoured pigs and growing very brown and comely. Annie knew the names of all, and ran up to the wood smoke every now and then, when a gentle memory moved her, and asked them how they were getting on, and when they would like to be eaten. Then she came back with foolish tears at thinking of that necessity, and I, being soft in a different way, would make up my mind against bacon. But, Lord bless you, it was no good. Whenever it came to breakfast time, after 3 hours upon the moors, I regularly forgot the pigs, but paid good heed to the rashers. For ours is a hungry county, if such there be in England, a place, I mean, where men must eat, and are quick to discharge the duty. The air of the moors is so shrewd and wholesome, stirring a man's recollection of the good things which have betided him, and whetting his hope of something still better in the future, that by the time he sits down to a cloth, his heart and stomach are tuned too well to say nay to one another. Almost everybody knows, in our part of the world at least, how pleasant and soft the fall of the land is round about Plover's Barrows farm. All above it is strong dark mountain, spread with heath, and desolate, but near our house the valleys cove, and open warmth and shelter. Here are trees, and bright green grass, and orchards full of contentment, and a man may scarce espy the brook, although he hears it everywhere. And indeed a stout good piece of it comes through our farmyard, and swells sometimes to a rush of waves when the clouds are on the hilltops. But all below, where the valley bends and the Lynn stream comes along with it, pretty meadows slope their breast, and the sun spreads on the water. And nearly all of this is ours, till you come to Nicholas Snow's land. But about 2 miles below our farm, the Bagworthy water runs into the Lynn, and makes a real river of it. Thence it hurries away with strength and a force of wilful waters, under the foot of a barefaced hill, and so to rocks and woods again, where the stream is covered over, and dark heavy pools delay it. There are plenty of fish all down this way, and the farther you go the larger they get, having deeper grounds to feed in. And sometimes in the summer months, when mother could spare me off the farm, I came down here, with Annie to help, because it was so lonely, and caught well nigh a basketful of little trout and minnows, with a hook and a bit of worm on it, or a fern web, or a blowfly, hung from a hazel pulse stick. For of all the things I learnt at Blundell's, only 2 abode with me, and one of these was the knack of fishing, and the other the art of swimming. And indeed they have a very rude manner of teaching children to swim there, for the big boys take the little boys, and put them through a certain process, which they grimly call sheep washing. In the 3rd meadow, from the gate of the school, going up the river, there is a fine pool in the Lowman, where the Taunton brook comes in, and they call it the Taunton pool. The water runs down with a strong sharp stickle, and then has a sudden elbow in it, where the small brook trickles in, and on that side the bank is steep, 4 or it may be 5 feet high, overhanging loamily, but on the other side it is flat, pebbly, and fit to land upon. Now the large boys take the small boys, crying sadly for mercy, and thinking mayhap of their mothers, with hands laid well at the back of their necks, they bring them up to the crest of the bank upon the eastern side, and make them strip their clothes off. Then the little boys, falling on their naked knees, blubber upwards piteously, but the large boys know what is good for them, and will not be entreated. So they cast them down, one after other, into the splash of the water, and watch them go to the bottom first, and then come up and fight for it with a blowing and a bubbling. It is a very fair sight to watch, when you know there is little danger, because, although the pool is deep, The current is sure to wash a boy up on the stones, where the end of the depth is. As for me, they had no need to throw me more than once, because I jumped of my own accord, thinking small things of the Lowman after the violent Lynn. Nevertheless, I learned to swim there as all the other boys did, for the greatest point in learning that is to find that you must do it. I loved the water naturally, and could not long be out of it, but even the boys who hated it most came to swim in some fashion or other, after they had been flung for a year or two into the Taunton pool. But now, although my sister Annie came to keep me company, and was not to be parted from me by the tricks of the Lynn stream, because I put her on my back and carried her across wherever she could not leap it, or tuck up her things and take the stones, yet so it happened that neither of us had been up to Bagworthy water. We knew that it brought a good stream down, as full of fish as of pebbles, and we thought it must be very pretty to make a way where no way was, nor even a bullock came down to drink. But whether we were afraid or not, I am sure I cannot tell, because it is so long ago, but I think that had something to do with it. For Bagworthy water ran out of Doone Valley, a mile or so from the mouth of it. But when I was turned 14 years old, and had put into good small clothes, buckled at the knee, and strong blue worsted hosen knitted by my mother, it happened to me without choice, I may say, to explore the Bagworthy water. And it came about in this wise. My mother had long been ailing, and not well able to eat much, and there is nothing that frightens us so much as for people who have no love of their victuals. Now I chanced to remember that once at the time of the holidays I had brought dear mother from Tiverton a jar of pickled loaches, caught by myself in the Lowman river, and baked in the kitchen oven with vinegar, a few leaves of bay, and about a dozen peppercorns. And mother had said that in all her life she had never tasted anything fit to be compared with them. Whether she said so good a thing out of compliment to my skill in catching the fish and cooking them, or whether she really meant it, is more than I can tell, though I quite believe the latter, and so would most people who tasted them. At any rate, I now resolved to get some loaches for her, and do them in the selfsame manner, just to make her eat a bit. There are many people, even now, who have not come to the right knowledge what a loach is, and where he lives, and how to catch and pickle him. And I will not tell them all about it, because if I did, very likely there would be no loaches left 10 or 20 years after the appearance of this book. A pickled minnow is very good if you catch him in a stickle with the scarlet fingers upon him, but I count him no more than the ropes in beer, compared with the loach done properly. Being resolved to catch some loaches, whatever trouble it cost me, I set forth without a word to any one, in the forenoon of St. Valentine's Day, 1675/6, I think it must have been. Annie should not come with me, because the water was too cold, for the winter had been long, and snow lay here and there in patches in the hollow of the banks, like a lady's gloves forgotten. And yet the spring was breaking forth, as it always does in Devonshire when the turn of the days is over, and though there was little to see of it, the air was full of feeling. It puzzles me now, that I remember all these young impressions so, because I took no heed of them at the time whatever, and yet they come upon me bright, when nothing else is evident in the grey fog of experience. I am like an old man gazing at the outside of his spectacles, and seeing, as he rubs the dust, the image of his grandson playing at bo peep with him. But let me be of any age, I never could forget that day, and how bitter cold the water was. For I doffed my shoes and hose, and put them in a bag about my neck, and left my little coat at home, and tied my shirt sleeves back to my shoulders. Then I took a 3-pronged fork firmly bound to a rod with cord, and a piece of canvas kerchief, with a lump of bread inside it, and so went into the pebbly water, trying to think how warm it was. For more than a mile, all down the Lynn stream, scarcely a stone I left unturned, being thoroughly skilled in the tricks of the loach, and knowing how he hides himself. For being grey spotted and clear to see through, and something like a cuttlefish, only more substantial, he will stay quite still where a streak of weed is in the rapid water, hoping to be overlooked, not caring even to wag his tail. Then, being disturbed, he flips away like whalebone from the finger, and hies to a shelf of stone, and lies with his sharp head poked in under it. Or sometimes he bellies him into the mud, and only shows his back ridge. and that is the time